Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Darshawn McAway. You're tuned in to wowpodcast.me. That's WOWPODCAST.me. And today we have a special guest. We have Candy Wolff, who's going to be talking about her latest book, Lost and Found in Mexico, A Widow's Road to Recovery. And without any further ado, Candy, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's a pleasure to meet you and a pleasure to see you. So
Thank you.
let's get into it. Lost and Found in Mexico.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, um, gosh, it was been about 16 months ago. My husband and I decided it was my 50th birthday. So we always go to Cabo. So that was like, okay, where are we going to celebrate? We're going to Mexico. So yeah, we went down there for my 50th, had some wonderful days. And then the day before we were supposed to come home, I actually woke up and found him. He had passed in the night. So I woke up and found him on January 27th that he had died overnight. So that's the whole gist, I guess, to the story of telling my what happened.
So what did happen to him for him to pass in the middle of the night?
Yeah. Well, I from the autopsy report that the Mexican police did, they said that he died of a massive heart attack, and they said that he wasn't in any pain. He went really quick, which was a relief once you hear that. And they said that there would have been nothing anybody could have done, even if I was awake or the doctors were around. That it was just one of those heart attacks that take you really quick.
So in that moment, just walk me through it a little bit. In that
Mhm.
moment when it was happening, where were your emotions? Like, where was your thought process?
Oh my goodness. In shock, in total disbelief that, like, holy cow, is this really happening? Am I in a bad dream? I'm in Mexico where I don't speak Spanish.
Right.
First time ever we stayed at a resort because we always stayed at a friend's house. Um, what's going to happen next? It, it, I think my body completely really shut down. Your brain kind of just shuts down because it tries to protect you from all of those emotions. So literally, I woke up, found him, spent a couple minutes like, oh my gosh, like wake up, and then having to call like down to the front desk and having the doctors come up and then the police, and then it was just total chaos like for four
Mhm.
days after that.
Got you. So what's the overall message throughout the book?
Well, a lot of it is like the first part of it is like my faith, like how, and that's kind of how Lost and Found came about. Was I've always been at a very strong um, Christian background, raised that way, but being in another country by yourself, losing your husband, my faith pretty much got uh, it became so much stronger down there just because I didn't have anybody to rely on. So
Mhm.
I had God
Right.
to walk me through it. And then the whole other part of it was my husband actually had lost his job about 5 years prior to us taking this trip. And he had found a few jobs off and on. He had been very successful up until he lost his job that he had of like 20 years. And he had been taking money out of our retirement to help pay for bills, which I didn't know about. So here I am in Mexico for 4 days, dealing with his death, dealing with the cops, trying to get him cremated and to be able to get back home, and dealing with the embassy. And it was just one thing after another. And then when I got home, to find out, holy cow, I got a check in the mail for $60,000 saying your account is closed. So the second part of it is um, grieving, and then coming home to find out everything that you thought you had was gone. And I
Yeah.
still had one child left at home. So the whole journey from not only losing my husband, coming home, to finding out like, wow, I have no money. How am I gonna? I'm 50 years old. Like,
Mhm.
what next? So
Right.
a lot of it. I want people to help people out for what I went through, because I don't want anybody else to ever have to go through what I went through.
So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
How did you get over it? How did you make your way to where you are right now?
Um, wow. Well, faith is a big one.
Hmm.
I guess I'm just one that I had, I put it in God's hands, but great friends, family surrounding me, and I have a wonderful company that I work for who has
Okay.
been super supportive and helpful through this. But then, when I came back and I started telling my story, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you've got to write a book. This is just crazy, like what you went through." And so, 3 months, down after being told I should write a book, and I decided, okay, well, God's talking to me. I'm going to write a book, and really, it's been healing. I was talking with my accountant the other day when we were going over taxes and stuff, and he's like, "Hey, you got to look at it this way. You probably have $20,000 worth of counseling, into this book here." So,
Mhm.
so it's just having the right people around and trying to stay positive and just I'm very much a person that wants to help other people too. So putting my heart and soul into this book and being able to reach out to people to let them know that, you know what, if I can survive, I am just an ordinary person, ordinary life, and I've made the best of my situation,
Right.
and they can do it too.
You mentioned a child or children.
Yeah.
How are your children emotionally? How are they handling it?
Um, so I have 3 boys. My oldest is 27. So he lives in Montana with his wife. He's doing good, obviously. He's a lot more mature. My middle son is going to be 22. He lives in St. Paul. And then my youngest is 18, getting ready. He'll graduate next Saturday, actually. So um, he, him and I have, I think, dealt with it together the most, just being that we've lived together, since I came home, him and
Right.
I've been through it. Um, so they all are coping in their own ways.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've really talked to them about is, do you need counseling? Are you talking to people? A lot of them have their friends that have really supported them. Especially my youngest being in, here, he has his hockey family, but then he plays volleyball now. So um,
Right.
I think the kids kind of go to their friends more than they do to their parents. So my concern is, my youngest is going to be going, excuse me, to Virginia to play volleyball here in a couple months. So
Okay.
it's like, he's doing good now, but how is he going to do when he's away from home and in a whole nother environment? So
Right.
that's
Right.
that. Hopefully, it will all be good.
So, do you do any counseling on the side? Like, aside from writing, what's your profession?
Yeah. So actually, I am an event manager for X
Okay.
Golf. So it's an indoor golf simulator, and we have like 6 locations here in Minnesota. So that's by trade, that's what I do is event management. So writing and the speaking thing is kind of new to me.
Right. 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 And so you are trying to take the speaking portion to a higher level. Yes.
I am, yes. So I did my
Okay.
first keynote speech a couple weeks ago. Spoke in front of 350 people, and which was, yeah, thank you. uh, that was something I was very proud of myself just even to do to get up on stage because
Yeah.
I've done lots of trade shows for work, where you do little breakout sessions and you have what
Yeah.
20, 30 people, but never 350. So
Hold on. Let's talk about that. You did your first keynote speech. What was it about? What did you do?
yeah, so it was for the Woodbury prayer breakfast,
Okay.
and they had me just get up and talk about my whole, you know, the kind of what happened and how God was with me, every step of the way that I, felt His presence, and so it was, very much a faith-based
Okay.
organization. So it was fun to be able to tell my story to them.
Well, look at you. I'm
I
excited for you.
know. Well, thank
Look
you.
at that. That's what I'm talking about. Keeping yourself busy, inspiring other people, telling your story.
Yeah.
And as you tell your story, you're also still healing in the process.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic. I
Thank
like it
you.
when
Thank you.
people get an opportunity to try to turn around something that's tragic to turn it into a
Mhm.
positive because you got to keep on trying to move forward in life, you know?
You do, and that's what I want to let, help people know is like, you can't let something define you, like a tragic like that. I mean, so many
Right.
people can go down a black rabbit hole. And
Right.
there's just, you know what, we have too much life to live, and we never know when our last breath is going to be. So it's like, it's the one thing I have learned is to be present and make the best out of every
Right.
situation that comes your way, because you just never know. And
Right.
I do not take anything for granted anymore. That's for darn sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So since you've been going through this process, have you put together like a will for your children or anything like that?
Yeah, yes, and I have a financial planner who, I know very well, and making sure you have beneficiaries on, your retirement, your bank accounts, like, for the house, like a transfer of deed upon death, if something
Yeah.
would happen to me. So, yeah, making sure I have everything in line. When my husband and I were married, it was a very traditional marriage.
Hmm.
Like, he took care of the finances. That's just how he was raised, and that's what he wanted to do. So when I came home, I had no idea who our mortgage company was with. None of our names, his name was on all the vehicles, on all the utilities. And so you're grieving, you realize you have no money, and then you have no idea who you're supposed to even be paying for your bills. So um I have really put, my kids know where everything is. They know the codes to the safes. They know everything, because
Yeah.
it's the last thing I want is them to have to, well, they saw what I went through. So it's like,
Right.
all right, we got to fix this.
Right. And you know what? And I applaud you for doing that. I've done the same thing as well.
Okay.
I've had a near death experience, and it just kind of
Mm,
put me right on my toes. And everybody in my family knows, hey, find my book bag. It has everything in there. It has all my codes, bank accounts, all that type of stuff. If
mhm.
anything has ever happened to me, so I applaud you for that.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times people don't think that far ahead. You know.
they don't. No, and it's crazy, because a lot of people, that even friends of mine, that I talk to, it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't even, like, I to this day, I had to give up everything that was on his cell phone, because I didn't know the code to get in. And because it was an iPhone, Apple, you actually have to go to court to be able to
Mm.
get access. Even though the account was in my name,
Right.
I was like, you just kind of figure out what battles you're going to pick and what you're not. So
Yeah.
I lost a lot of photos, because he was always taking pictures of the kids. But
Yeah.
it's like, what energy do you have left to fight? So good
Yeah.
for you for making sure you have everything in order, because a lot
Yeah.
of people don't.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So let's tell the people where they could find you, what you have coming up next. If you're on social media and things of that nature.
Yes, awesome. So you can find my book at it's candywolf.com. So it's just CandywOLFF.com. I am on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I am on LinkedIn. And I have my next speaking is set for September 17th. I'm speaking at the How Conference. It's a women's conference here in Minnesota. So I'm doing the lunch inspiration speaking. So that's where I am right now, just one day at a time, trying to figure out how I'm going to take my book and the speaking and move it to the next level, and um, just get out there and help people.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to talk to you about your book and to talk to you about your life. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Candy Wolff. She's the author and speaker. She was on here talking about her book, Lost and Found in Mexico. Candy, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It was so awesome to meet you as well. You're doing great things, and I admire you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.